Hi, I'm Scarlett. I'm going to be teaching you how to create your own vocabulary match activity using Google Slides. So here I am in my Google Drive. I'm going to create a new Google Slides document. I'm going to name this document Grade 7 Vocabulary Match Number System Original. I'll show you why later we're including original. We are going to have more than one document. So I'm going to delete the text boxes that are here, and I'm also going to change the dimensions of the document by going to File and Page Setup. I'm going to do custom, and it's going to be 11 inches by 8.5 inches. That's the size of paper, printer paper, so in case you want to print the activity out, you won't have a distorted activity. So the first thing I'm going to do is add our title. So I like to put a little box on top just so it looks nice. And we can make that black. And I'm going to double click so that I can write in the box. I'm going to change the font. And you can play around to see what types of fonts you like. I'm going to make it white so that you can see it. I'm going to center the text, and I'm going to make it larger so it's easy to read. Now in this activity, on the left side, you're going to have the definitions and the spots to put the words and the examples. On the right side, you're going to have the directions and the movable pieces. So I'm going to add a line to split those two. And I'm going to adjust my line so that it's black and it's thicker. And I'm going to add a text box to add the directions. Drag and drop each vocabulary word. I'm going to put those in yellow. And example, these are going to be in blue, to the corresponding definition. I'm going to change this font. And I want the directions to be darker. Now on the left-hand side is where we're going to put our boxes with the definitions and where all of our movable pieces will go. So I'm going to choose a rectangle. And depending on how many words you have, that's how you will size your rectangles. I'm not going to do too many words for this video, so I'm going to make them large. I'll copy and paste, and we'll do a third one down here. You can also play with the color of your rectangles. Maybe a blue. We'll put it green. I'm also going to take away the borders just because I don't want them for these rectangles. Okay, now we have to add rectangles for the spaces where our movable pieces will lay. So I'm going to choose a rounded rectangle. And this is going to be for the word. So I said here they're going to be in yellow. I'll change that to yellow. And I'll make another one. I'll copy and paste this for the example. Depending on your examples, mine were shorter than the words, so I made it a little bit smaller. And I said these would be in blue. Okay, so I like these. I'm going to copy and paste and put them in my other rectangles as well. Now we have to put the definitions in there. So I'm going to add text boxes. And we'll put some definitions. A decimal that ends. I want to change the font here. And I want them to be bold so that it's easy for the kids to read. Let's make it bigger, and I want to center it. So I like that. I'm going to copy and paste it and add that to the next box. We'll do two numbers whose sum equals 0. Now this is too big, so I'm going to make this font a little bit smaller so it fits. And we'll do one more. Numbers whose product equals 1. And again, it's a little too big, so I'm going to double click and make that smaller so it fits. And we're good. So we're done with the background portion. So now we have to make our movable pieces. I'm going to download this as a JPEG. That way, when I'm ready to make my slide, I have it as a background. This will allow it so that the students cannot alter your title, they can't alter the directions or any of the definitions, they can't move anything that doesn't need to be moved. So I'm going to go back to this Google Drive and make a new slides document. And I'm going to follow the same steps that I did in the last one. So I'm going to delete the text boxes and go to File and Page Setup to change the dimensions. 11 by 8.5. Apply. So I'm going to go to Background, choose Image, and now I'm going to click and drag that JPEG image that I downloaded to make my background. And I'll click Done. So you can see here now I can't click and drag anything that's here. So I'm going to name this Grade 7 Vocabulary Match Number System. This one is not going to be original. This is going to be the one that I assign to my students. So I'm going to go back to my Google Drive, and it's time to create those movable pieces. I'm going to click New, More, and Google Drawings. That way I can create them, save it as a PNG, and then import them into the slide. So I want to make sure they're the same dimensions as these rounded rectangles here so that they fit. So I'm going to take this, copy it, and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to move it up around here and just make this document smaller. And I think we can make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to center it. So my first word was a decimal that ends. So I'm going to write terminating decimal. And again, you can change the font. And I want these to be bold also so that it's easy for the students to see because these pieces are going to be small. And I just want to check to make sure that it's centered. Okay. So now that I have this piece, I'm going to label it terminating decimal. And I'm going to save it. File, download. I'm going to save it as a PNG. That means that there's going to be no background around it. It'll have that transparent background. And then we can check. This is my document that the students will be using. So I'm going to take that image and I'm just going to drag it into the document. And I see it's right here and it's going to fit. So I can put that right here in the bank. So now that I have the size that I want, I'm going to go back to this drawing, click File, and make a copy. Now my next word needs to be two numbers whose sum equals 0. We're going to have multiplicative inverse. So now I can change the words right here. that the dimensions are going to be the same. So I can download this as a PNG, go back to my document, and I can import it here. And then lastly, two numbers whose product equals 1. So I'll make another copy, and that is additive inverse. I'm just going to edit the text, and I'm going to save this as a PNG. I don't need these anymore, and I just need to import that last word. When I put the words in, I like to put them in alphabetical order, just so the students can see that there's not really a pattern in how they fit, and they really need to look for the words. So now I'm going to do my examples. So again, I'm going to go back to that original document so that I can copy and paste this box. And I'm going to go to Google Drive and make a new drawing. And I paste it right into Google Drawing, and I'm going to resize the document by clicking and dragging. Now I can center wherever the center is. Here we go. And I'm going to add an example. So we have multiplicative inverse. So I can have 1/2 and 2/1. Now, if you want to play around with these, you can make it another text. If you open a text box, we can do 1, make another text box, 2. You have your fraction sign here. You can make these smaller. That way it looks similar to the first one, because I know my Mac does not make, they don't make improper fractions. So here we go. I mean, it's not perfect, but you can play around with it. You get the gist. But we do have to center this, so I'm going to have to move that fraction again. So these two numbers. And I'm going to name this MI for multiplicative inverse. Oh, I mixed up my order here. My 1 has to go on the bottom, and my 2 has to go on top. Okay, MI example. Now I'll download this as a PNG and go to my activity. I'm going to click and drag it in. And let me see if it fits. It's in the wrong spot, but that's okay, they're the same size. So it does fit, so I'm going to throw it in there. And now I need to make my 2 other examples. So I'm going to make a copy. I need to make an example for terminating decimal. So I can get rid of those 2 numbers there. And if you want to make this bigger, you can. I'll download as a PNG. And my last one will be an example for additive inverse. Oops. and I'll drag it down here. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, be sure to put them down below.